Good morning, Dank Nation. This is the morning Spacey. I'm Devin, and today we have a new guest on. Her name is Madeline. Thank you for being here. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We're gonna get right into smoking. Hopefully, you guys are smoking too. This is a recreational wake and bake show above a recreational wake and bake shop, or recreational shop. See, I'm too sober already, guys.
Yeah, we didn't
What's up, Rosie? We got people jumping in on Instagram. You brought some goodies, it looks like.
Yeah, we got some stuff to dab.
What strains do we have?
Sin City and Jamaican Jam.
Sin City and Jamaican Jam. That looks fire. And then I brought some fucking Johnny Chimpo. We're just gonna have a hard time getting it out of the bag is what we're gonna do.
That's all right, you know. It's kinda, that's sort of a good sign, you know, if it's sticking to the bag.
Fuck. Boom, it's raining weed over here.
All right, wow.
Dig in, grab some of that.
Okay.
The smell on this stuff is incredible. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to try some J Chimpo, try some J Chimpo. It's fucking bomb. We're gonna get... Should have brought that Kush Family Originals. I'm already getting hate because I didn't bring some Kush Family Original. All right. Fuck, man. I'm so excited. I've been waiting like all week to get here again today. We're going to start right out with, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself before I get ahead of myself.
Okay.
Damn it.
Okay, no worries. I am Madeline Couture, and basically I am the self-proclaimed Martha Stewart of cannabis, and I prefer to call myself the Martha Stoner of cannabis. So I have a show, it's a cooking show, kind of like Martha Stewart, where, you know, everything from home tips, mostly making amazing meals, and but we get totally blasted. And what's different about my show is it's a spoof, and some of it is acting, and it's a comedy, so it's not like your regular cooking show. So
I've actually had a chance to check it out, and I find it pretty entertaining. A lot of people who watch the show know that I like to get super duper baked in the morning, afternoon, and night. But that's kind of my go-to. I like to watch a lot of podcasts. I like to watch a lot of smoking stuff. Anything in the industry, really. You can check stuff out on the High Times app. What is the easiest way to find some of the content that you bring to the table? Okay,
well, one of the issues that I found with making a show where the title had the word shit in it is that you get blocked in a lot of searches for YouTube. And so you can just look for Madeline Couture, like Juicy Couture, C-O-U-T-U-R-E. And like high fashion is the best way to find me. So just put in Madeline Couture, and that's basically the easiest way you find me. If you look for shit you can make when you're baked, depending on how you have your search settings, you might find me, but probably not. So I'm more in like the what would you call it, the adult content than regular.
I think I might. I don't know. With the morning Spacey, I think we're okay.
I found you guys right at the top.
I say a lot of shit, so.
I think it's only when you have it in the name and they're searching for that name of the show.
How long have you been doing this stuff?
I started out as actually a broadcaster for PBS. Of all things, yes.
That's huge.
Yeah, so I interned there and became a producer for a show called The Homework Hotline. And so I started out in kids show, and now I have a company called Metamedia where I'm making cannabis TV shows. So
that's quite the transition.
Kind of a change. I still, you know, I made a short film for the Canadian government called Digging Fossils, and I really enjoyed working in kids films, but as I grew older, I started to realize I was more and more of a stoner, and that this is the direction I was going, and I got tired of trying to pretend to be someone else and pretending not to be a stoner and pretending to like keep that persona of like my work persona versus me as a person. And so now I'm just me as a person, and I decided, you know what's important is what I think of me, not what other people think of me.
Well, and that's what's nice about the weed community, I guess you could say, or the cannabis community, is that they're pretty accepting, you know, all around. And I feel like the people who don't have that mindsetting, they stick out like a sore thumb. You know what I mean? You go to sessions, you meet him, you know right away, this guy's got too much of a business mind aspect, not enough cannabis in his brain. You know, he or she, whoever it may be, it doesn't have to be a guy. I'm just saying in general though, you know right away as soon as you meet somebody who's got the wrong mentality in this community, they just don't fit in. It's
Totally.
nice to be around people, you know, that are accepting and don't really care. We just want to smoke our fucking pot, you know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
we don't want to hurt nobody, just like the
right.
song, right?
It's
You know?
exactly like the song. So I know the first time I got to meet you in person was at Hempfest. You were over by the Dope Tent, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge Dope fan.
Dope magazine.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So what all were you doing at Hempfest? I know what I was doing. But a lot of people were up to different shit. What was your Hempfest experience like?
For me, I was just kind of trying to pass out shit you can make when you bake stickers and trying to just like meet cool people like myself. I realized that stoners, we're like a tribe, and we range from everything from completely burned down to like you know, very intellectual stoners. And so I was just going there trying to, I guess, meet my tribe. And I'm kind of, I guess, an introvert and not very outgoing, and I've always kind of been like that. I'm socially awkward, or whatever the phrase is, and I think there's a lot of stoners like that. So I was just going there to try and meet my kind, you know, and it was great. Through that and through going to the Dope Golden Ticket party, I ended up meeting a lot of cool people like me, and so. For me, it wasn't networking, and I was going there for business, but then it turned out to be like more like a spiritual thing where I was
Embraced.
where I was like, yeah,
It was-
like up in the mix is a good word for it.
I can
you know?
honestly say from the time I've started to be, I guess you would say more what's the word? More in contact with other people in the weed community, because it hasn't always been forever. Like I've smoked weed since I can remember, but it was kind of that same scenario. I wouldn't say I'm an introvert. I have way too much of an ego and a personality to be an introvert. But I didn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't going to sessions. I wasn't hanging out with people. I wasn't smoking with people. Now that I am, it's just like when you go to that first concert of like your genre of choice. You know, like you're finally surrounded by people that do and like and what you do. It's an incredible
true.
experience. It's
Yeah.
nice to see other people get to experience that, and it's nice to watch cannabis bring people out of their shells, you know, which I mean, you get stoned, you tend to come out of your shell.
I mean, technically, that's kind of like how I'm using it, and my actual, can't say my therapist's name, but they actually approve of it, not like sign the prescription type thing. But you know, I told them that with my ADHD and my social anxiety, I've been self-medicating since ninth grade. And so a lot of people are getting high, a lot of people are getting blasted, and I do get high or whatever. But for the most part, it makes me feel clear-minded, and it helps me slow down enough to focus, because I'm usually like very hyperactive. And then like I smoke enough cannabis, and I finally find myself slowed down. And I think there's a lot of people that are getting medical benefits out there, and not, you know, it's cool to get high and everything, but I think this herb, there's so much more to this herb than just that. You know?
It's definitely a thing I've noticed. There are people who started out just to get high. I'm one of, I don't actually have a medical condition. Other than like I fucking hate people. That sounds terrible, but a majority of people suck. You know, people in traffic suck. People at the store suck. People suck. When I'm high, they don't. You know, so
Yeah.
I get high before I do everything. I drive high. Sorry, police, but I do sometimes. Because if I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off and they're freaking out and flipping me off and shit and they're going nuts, I'm usually laughing. You know what I mean? As to where if I wasn't stoned,
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, fuck you, guy. You fucking piece of shit. Like, don't cut me off.
Yeah, right. And
It changes your whole outlook on shit.
and you know, usually you're more, it raises your awareness. So you know, so usually you're more aware, and you're usually driving like 10 miles under the speed limit anyways, you know, right?
Yeah,
like
the
Cheech and
cruise
Chong,
speed.
right? You know, it's like, oh, how fast are we going? We're going 10 miles an hour, man. You know?
We're not moving at all.
But,
I've also found I'm more giving when I'm high too. Cannabis has made me a really like giving person, and
Yeah.
I'm all about sharing it forward, and I always have been because of that movie Pay It Forward. I watched it when I was a kid. Killed me. I was all sad and shit. If you
Aw.
haven't seen it, check it out. It's a good ass movie. It's a good ass like moral or whatever, like the message that they send out. But when I'm stoned, I find myself like intentionally going out, finding, you know, like less fortunate people, maybe homeless people. I'll kick them some joints or some pre-rolls, and I see people do that on camera all the time, and most of the time it feels like they're doing it for clout, but when you really break it down to the nuts and bolts, they're not. It just, weed brings like so much love out of a person.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And in a situation like being homeless, I mean, I'm a person where I'm sitting here today on this microphone from this camera, but really, you know, 10 or 11 years ago, I was off the grid and completely homeless. And if you didn't know where I was, you couldn't find me. That's sort of what this documentary that I'm working on, besides my cooking show right now, is about. And so about 10 years ago, I was living in this studio in Capitol Hill in Seattle, like Pike and Broadway, like in the heart of where everything goes down. And I had this word of mouth $300 recording studio, and I had this band, and that's why I came to Seattle, actually, from Colorado, was to make I love Nirvana, and actually on the day that Kurt Cobain killed himself, I told all my friends, I said, I'm going to move to Seattle, and I'm going to make that band. Well, I did come here and make an album, but then my album got stolen because my boyfriend was a guitar player and the band broke up. And anyways, I signed a bad contract type thing and lost that album. So now I decided that, you know, it was all about the adventure and coming here to do what I was doing next, which is working in cannabis.
And that's another, it's so crazy how many, I haven't heard the exact same story, but it's crazy how many shared experiences people in the cannabis community have. I know a ton of people. I have a friend in Humboldt County, California. I won't say any names, but she's super dope. She started out, you know, dealing with illegal weed, and she got arrested, had to deal with that, ended up being homeless. And she's really climbed the ladder out there. She's all legal. Everything she does is by the book. She's really put in a lot of work to changing her lifestyle, and like climbing the cannabis ladder has helped her climb like a life ladder, if that makes sense. And I've noticed a lot of people have really gone through that struggle and come full circle, and it's pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, and I think for those of us like her and me who have come from absolutely fucking nothing is the best way to say it.
I'm still there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still not. I mean, I have a roof over my head and my bills paid. That's all I ever really want in life. I don't need to be rich or a millionaire, you know. But from coming from that and getting to here, you know, I feel like I need to give back. And so before the show, we were talking about legalization, and we were talking about how many people are in prison for life sentences, 30 years, 20 years, 40 years, whatever, for a fucking plant, for this innocent little herb.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I feel terrible. I don't remember the hashtag, but I just saw this hashtag going around like Free William something. Guy went to Hempfest, got arrested, got a life sentence.
Oh, yeah.
When weed was legalized recreationally, they dropped his sentence to 30 years. This guy's looking at 30 years in prison for fucking weed. And to me, that's like, do people even get that much for armed robbery? Like, is that, like, I feel like that's not even close to the sentence that they get tapped with. You know, like 10 years in prison and 5 on probation, or, you know, it affects their life negatively for sure, but the drastic charges that they, or like penalties they have attached to weed, it's sad. And to be able to watch some of that get erased has been great, but like it needs to be an all-around thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of work still to do.
Yeah, there is.
One of the messages that I got from Hempfest. You were talking about Hempfest. I walked away from there going, wow, weed's legal now, but DJ, the guy who invented DJ Shortberry, that grower, I can't remember his name, but he gave this wonderful speech, and he made me walk away from there going, shit, dude, we did it, guys. We legalized it. All right. But now we have to do more. This is only here in Washington. You go elsewhere, it's still 30 years in prison. It's still life sentences. It's not like here. And even within our own community, one of the things that I want to talk about, besides along the lines of legalization, is medical. So I came from medical, and within the last 10 years, what I've been doing is medical growing. And then when it got legalized, we lost access to our clones and seeds, and there was no longer cloner markets or anything like that. And so while I was hooray for legalization, people like me and my husband, who is a disabled veteran. You know, he's an Air Force veteran. He has intractable pain. He can have up to like 15 plants, but where's he gonna get them from? Nowheres. So this is what I'm saying. There's still like a lot of work to do. It's like, great guys, we legalized it. Now let's keep this movement conscious and keep it moving forward.
Definitely, yeah, and it's an uphill battle. But even, I mean, yeah, it's legal here, and in other places it's tougher. But even with it being legal here, there are people struggling on a daily basis to keep the rights that were given to them. What always comes up to me constantly is sticky buds. We talked about sticky buds out in the green room. The trouble that they're having out there is, I don't know why, but they're constantly battling out there. I think the guy's name is Mike Lita. We've had words for you for a long time, Mike Lita. Leave sticky buds alone.
Yeah,
but in all reality, that's what I mean. It's legal here, and yet here we are with people that we're close with and that we enjoy buying their products all the time. And even in the industry, you know, they're struggling, and it's sad.
Yeah, and it's all because of misinformation. Like, I mean, I'm from the heartland in Colorado type place, like where Sticky Buds is, and I like where I'm from in Montrose, Colorado. You still see, you know, anti-marijuana shit. It's fucking legal there in Colorado. Same thing there. What it is people are complaining about the smell. Oh, it smells. Well, you know what else smells? Cows, farms, land, growing things. That has a smell to it.
I couldn't agree with that statement alone so much more.
The fact that is like their main point for why they're trying to shut Sticky Buds down is why I think this is bullshit. You know, it's a complete, like, it's not a real argument. It's a half argument or a half baked
How often
argument.
do you get a chance to come out this way? How often are you in Olympia?
I haven't been to Olympia a lot, but I head to Portland a lot, and I also have a pretty big following in Vancouver, too.
So if any of those people who live in those places that have to deal with the smell of weed and it bugs them, if you have a real fucking problem with that, come move to, we'll say Lacey, Olympia. Right down the road is the mushroom farm. And I promise you, you go park your car outside that mushroom farm for 45 minutes on a hot summer day, you will never complain about the smell of weed again. Because it's just absolute horse shit. That's what you smell 24/7. And like some days it's stronger than others. I don't see them shutting down the mushroom farm.
Yeah, where I live in SeaTac, you got the Tacoma aroma and everything too. It smells like a fish out there 24/7. Nobody's shutting down the fish industry.
Or it's like a burnt rubber smell you kind of get every now and then. Yeah, no, especially in the industry or like industrial area of Tacoma, it's horrible out there. And there's no way the smell of like weed growing can even touch basis with the toxic shit that's being put out.
So it's the fact that like I used to grow medical outdoors in my own neighborhood, and I have a neighbor and they're from a country where, or at least I should say their family is from a country where cannabis is still looked at like it's heroin. And this is why we need to inform people that this is yes, this is for people's entertainment, but this is also for people's medicine. And so while I was growing it for medical, they complained and said that they were going to go to the city and everything, so I've quit growing, you know, on my own property, done with all that, and because I just don't want to have to deal with somebody who believes that this right here is fucking heroin. I mean, alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen. You'd have to do this whole room full of shit, and then you and I would probably fall asleep first before we'd ever die.
I've tried.
You know, exactly.
I can say it right now on camera. I have no suicidal tendencies whatsoever, but I've tried to fucking OD on weed so many times, and I've actually smoked myself sober, you know, but I've never, like, even green sick, I feel like there's an explanation for it, you know, your blood sugar's low, you didn't eat enough that day, maybe you smoked something with pesticides in it.
Yeah, maybe you didn't know where you were getting your shit from or whatever. Exactly.
I won't say the shop or the company, but I went into a shop the other day and I just so happened to be there, but I was going to buy some product and I was like, well, let me look at a couple of your oils, and all 4 of the fucking oils this guy put down on the table had like 4 or 5 pesticides written on the bag. And I was like, I made a joke, I was like, well, if you're going to put pesticides in it, at least throw it on the label, right? And the Budtender dude looked at me and he was like, yeah, man, I don't know. And I was like, that was his attitude too. And I was like, so you not only are you comfortable with pushing like this stuff that's riddled with pesticides, but you're not even upset about it. And like I said, I'm not gonna like harsh on any company in particular, but like that's scary to me too. That there are people out there that are like okay with pushing the booth. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I guess that's why you come to Danks Wonder Emporium, you know, so that way you can, you know, you get budtenders that know their shit. You're not getting product that you know is crap. You know you're getting what you're getting, and you know it's gonna be good. And you can even come upstairs and try the strain of the day. So
this promotion was not paid for in any way.
Exactly. Sorry, I just I break into random commercials because I'm from the broadcast, and I've been doing this for about 16 years. Never been in front of the camera, but you know, it's just always sitting in your
hit
head,
it on the
know?
head though. It makes a difference when the budtenders are intelligent and they're educated. It makes a difference when you get to test the product in the green room when they have their fucking every day their brand of the day, 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Most days, sometimes things go on. Danks is a busy company and they got stuff to do.
Yep.
If you don't get a chance to come out here and you're closer to the Edmonds shop, get out to the Edmonds shop, see what kind of deals they got going on in there. I'm mad I haven't actually been in the shop yet, but everything I see there is beautiful. Like, they got a nice layout. I hear the budtenders are all really awesome. It's just too far away from me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm following pretty much, probably not all of them, but I've noticed that a lot of the budtenders that I'm following are from Danks, and that's one thing that I caught is like when you come here, you're getting a family of stoners that's gonna like treat you right, and you'll be like it'll be like coming to the bars. Cheers, cheers the bar, everybody knows your name after a while if you come in enough type thing.
That used to be my fucking ringtone.
Yeah, exactly.
I love cheers.
I mean, where I have to go, sadly, up in SeaTac, Burien, Skyway area, I guess is probably Burien and Skyway are the only things we have, and sadly, I'm disappointed with it, and South Seattle cannabis needs a lot of work as far as dispensaries. Seems like everywhere else I go is like, Broadsterdam, it's weed heaven, and there's a dispensary all over the place. And then where I am, it's still like a bunch of people are like, oh, we don't want any weed here.
So I was gonna ask, being over there where it's more like, I guess you would say populated, or excuse me, what's the word, like fast-paced, the Seattle, like, stereotype. You're like, give me my coffee now, I gotta run to work, and I'm gonna be on 3 different phones at the same time. Do you feel like that's transferred over into the cannabis community, too, as far as, like, if you walk, like, I know it's not like that at the Danks in Edmonds, because it's a Danks shop. Yeah. But, like, when you go into recreational shops out there, do you get that, like, that fast rush, like, vibe, like, get in here, buy what you can, and get the fuck out?
Oh, yeah. Like, for instance, you go in there, it's like, I mean, usually they always have, like, somebody really nice at the door, so you feel really good when you're going in, but then when you get in, yeah, it's like herding animals.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of shops I've been to that are pretty local to this side, too, and that's what, like, that's exactly how it feels. You come in, and they're like, they herd you this way, they kind of herd you around all their product, and then they make you buy whatever you're ready to buy, and they push you out the door, and it's like...
and they always try and sell me, like, some shit that I don't want.
Right? Yeah,
and then I'm like, what's that over there? And I finally just start pointing at things. I'm like, what about that right there? And then they're like, oh, this is 20, blah, blah, blah. Oh, let me see that. That's how actually I ended up with that. It's like...
Speaking of that, let's jump into some dabbing. We've been smoking on flower for a minute. How do you feel? Do you like that stuff? Do you like the flavor?
I think it was really good head buzz. Felt it like actually in my eye sockets, which is a weird thing. Normally you get it like up in the head or the headband. This is actually a little lower.
This is actually a cross between... I think it's Gorilla Glue and headband. So you fucking pow right on the head again. Oh. Real quick, I want to say what's up to Lemon Haze. They just jumped in on the live. Can't wait for the Lemon Haze party. Are you going to the Lemon Haze?
I don't know.
No, it's if you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, check it out. Lemon Haze is going to be lit. It's going to be at the Tacoma Dome.
Okay.
If you're in the industry, you get in for, I don't remember. If you're not, it's like $300 a ticket. Oh. You know what I mean? So it's really beneficial to get in there, make sure you RSVP, and be ready for an awesome time. It's going to be fucking wicked.
Huh.
So which
Okay.
one of these you want to jump in on first?
I guess let's do some shatter.
Some shatter. This one is the Sin City, you said?
Yeah.
It looks pretty. This looks a lot like the shit that I fucking dabbed my half grammer last night. Those of you guys who follow me on Instagram saw that. And the first picture of my 1K giveaway, I thought I'd be a smartass and just take a picture of a cardboard box. So you're welcome, guys.
Just a blank cardboard box.
Yeah, that's kind of what I went with.
Well, it's kind of ominous, so then it could be anything.
It could literally be. It was even funnier. I left the corner of the top of the box to where it shows like one letter on a T-shirt, maybe, or maybe it's not a T-shirt. Maybe it's just a sticker. We don't know yet. But I let a little kind of show out. I wasn't a complete ripoff.
Gotcha.
So how often do you dab?
I use dabs medically, actually.
So would you say you're more of a bedtime dabber, or do you dab all day?
Yeah, no, I'm more of like I just take a small dab to get focused type person.
Okay.
You know, like I'm mostly, like I'm extreme ADHD, so I used to smoke a shitload of flower, and turned out that wasted a lot of money. When I realized that I could just do a couple dabs every few hours, and I would be good all day long, and I'd be focused.
My favorite comparison to people, especially speaking of like jumping back to people categorizing weed in the same category as heroin. My grandfather, who has passed away now, but for the longest time, he was all about cannabis, but fucking hated oil. And he used to call black tar heroin. Is you smoking that black tar heroin shit again? And I'm like, dude, that's not what it is. But it's so funny that like if you looked at it and you didn't know any better, you'd think some weird shit. I remember
you see somebody using the blowtorch. The first time I
Mhm.
saw that, I thought, wow, man, kind of looks like people are hitting crack pipes. But like I said, once you start realizing that like you could do that whole pile and you'd get, say you needed that much medication or whatever. But instead, you can just do the little corner of this thing, and you're going to get the same, and you're not going to cause all the same stress to your lungs and end up, you know, causing all that extra, well, we don't know if cannabis, I doubt cannabis causes lung cancer, but, you know, they won't let us study it yet,
I'm pretty
so we
sure
don't
it
know,
helps.
right?
Well,
so smoking in general, we know is not.
That's actually what I was going to
is
say.
good,
So my
you know.
comparison is when I talk about it, and that's what I told my grandpa, you look at it like you look at your laundry detergent. Okay, for a while there you bought it and you filled up the cup and you poured it in there and you did your load of laundry. Now when you go to buy laundry detergent, you want the most concentrated as possible. Why? You get more out of a little bit of use. Same thing with oil. You want to buy as much THC or pot that you can for, like, get your biggest bang for your buck. So when you buy concentrates, it's the same concept. Like,
Yeah.
I'm paying this amount because I want to get more usage out of less uses.
Yeah,
If that makes
like
sense.
if I go to a party and I want to smoke a big joint with everyone, and it's you know, fun and make everybody you know, lighten the mood or whatever, you know, that's great. But like, I guess I'm more of like a medical smoker than a full-on stoner, but I still consider myself a stoner because I know that's like my tribe, as I was saying, you know. It's like I just use it because it helps me, and it helps me over. Like I wouldn't even be here on this show today if it wasn't for cannabis. That's why on Shit You Can Make When You Bake, it says starring Madeline Couture, and then the second credit is also starring cannabis. And same thing on this show. It's like you and I are here, but there's also another character right here called Cannabis, you know. And I think that's how cannabis is for me. Is like it plays that character in my life, and it's always been there to make me look at things with a better set of eyes. Like you were talking about driving when you're just really angry, but if you're driving on cannabis, you're fucking just like, okay, cool, man. Somebody does some shit to you, you're like, no problem, man. I'll just go over here.
Like it opens your perspective more.
Yeah. And I guess one thing that I did want to say when I came here is like, you know, I do all this stuff and it's really fun. But one of the reasons why I'm actually getting into cannabis and doing all this stuff is I want to bring about the fact, kind of why I brought this packaging today. all the different packaging that goes into cannabis.
Yeah, let's talk
And
about it.
when I started smoking pot in ninth grade, we thought that we were gonna save the world. We were gonna clean up the forest. We're gonna do. And then I found this article, and I think it was the Seattle Times, and found out that like the amount of cannabis trash that is going into landfills and is going into our environment. And then I'm out for my walk, and I'm finding little packages like this. I'm finding empty pot bags, and I'm picking them up and taking them back to the dumpster because this is not what stoners do. When I was in ninth grade, that's not what a stoner does. A stoner takes care of the earth. And so one of the reasons why I'm going into cannabis is I want to figure out a way that we can make this packaging biodegradable, kind of like Taco Time. They figured out how to make everything from the cup, the straw, the top, the packaging, the paper, the bag, everything is compostable.
Where's this at?
Taco Time?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just discovered the other day, and it gave me this idea. Why hasn't somebody done this with cannabis packaging? Maybe they have, and they should reach out to me. But because I'd like to be on that mission. That is the mission that I want to promote this, and I want to promote legalization. But if we're going to do it, we can't be trashing the forest and trashing the landfills with it. We got to have a way to recycle this and to take care of, be good stewards of good stoners of the earth or whatever.
I will say we've talked about it one time on the show, I believe, or maybe I'm just high and not remembering it right. But there is a company or a program. I don't know if it's all voluntary, but there's a company in Seattle right now that's trying to push to clean out and recycle the jars. Because the jars are just as bad. You can't really recycle them. You have to throw them away because of the remnants of the weed. And so it's created a huge problem. Like, I've got boxes of jars. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with them.
Everybody does, right?
Except for put weed in them, and I don't have that much weed because I smoke it all. So, there's this company coming out doing this program, and before you know it, there will be companies doing what you're talking about. But I've noticed that. You're right. It's James, the Budtender here, Danks, has always been really good about it. He's put on a couple of, community cleanups on the road here, just because... I don't know why they do it, but there are some people that come here and buy stuff they shouldn't do it, and same thing. They rip the top of the label off, and it ends up on the ground somehow.
And it just doesn't it blow your mind? It's like
I love Medusa Gardens because they always put right at the top, please throw away, do not litter, pick up after, whatever their little saying is, and that's like 90% of the shit that we found picking it up was like the one sentence of do not throw this on the ground. And that just ends up being the shit that ends up on the ground. And, I mean, like I said, I got mad respect for Medusa throwing that on their packaging. Not saying it's bad that nobody else does, but maybe if more companies started putting that kind of stuff on their label, it would help push for that. Because it's definitely a lacking thing in the weed community. Damn, that was a tasty dab. I can't wait. I gotta ask her how she feels about this rig. I'm in love with it.
That was a tasty dab. Wow.
This is like my new favorite rig. I got to smoke on it last week, and I'm dying to smoke on it this week.
Oh man, it is kind of I guess I don't have the lungs to pull it hard at first, but once I finally got it going,
no, yeah, it's a lot of contraption going on in there, but once you get it in there and the pull's going, it's really nice. I want to pick one up. It's a beautiful dab rig.
And, you probably know more about this than me because I'm not a bong aficionado, but what do they call all the little things? We got a spiral, basically. We got a perk. I don't know what these things are called.
Yeah, me neither. I know this is supposed to be like, theoretically, if you hit it hard enough, it's a cyclone. It's supposed to, vortex. I don't have the lung power to make it do that either. I know some people that do. I know Brandon comes on the show quite a lot. That guy can fucking smoke. Oh yeah. Yeah, have you ever seen the Unicorn, Brandon? He's been on a few shows. He's always on the Chronicast. He took the 3-gram dab and then tried to take another 3-gram dab.
Right. I'm bad at
there's so many memorable moments with that guy. I swear. His go-to is staring off into the camera with the best face ever.
He's just
always a great person to have on our show. So if you get a chance, check out one of those episodes.
Okay. I'm going to take you up on one of these whipped. I think.
Do you want this one?
Whipped.
It's delicious, I promise you.
I've never had it.
So I was gonna ask you. You brought it up. What is this documentary you're talking about? I want to know more about that. I've heard a couple little things. I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about, but I would like to know a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what I can tell you. I can't tell you the name yet, but it is a documentary about everything that I did this year. I have severe social anxiety disorder, and I decided to like, I've been in therapy for many years, and like I thought that would do it, and it did help. But like still going out in front of people, like I am here today in front of the cameras, I'm live and everything. I'm like it takes a lot having social anxiety disorder, and so I created this documentary where I'd go and do all these things, like coming on Danks today, and that causes me to have to break out of my comfort zone. And then afterwards, like, even though I'm like shitting bricks and like scared shitless right before John turned on the cameras over here, you know, it's like as soon as things start rolling, then I start to feel like, oh, everything's okay. So I realize I'm making a film, but it's also a form of like self-therapy. I'm like trying to heal myself through cannabis and through getting out in front of the camera and getting over all those things I'm afraid of, which is like talking on camera, hearing my voice on a microphone. I mean, talking about myself, all this shit. I don't want to do any of that.
That's
but now
okay.
I am.
It can't get worse than almost vomiting on live camera. While you were saying that, I just got like a gigantic gulp of bong water.
Oh,
you guys
no.
watching that, you probably just caught that.
Did we have a close-up on it?
That
oh,
was
no.
so gross. So yeah, that just
God.
fucking happened. But,
Okay. Well,
no,
I think
I
we need
get
to.
it. It's
Want to trade?
No, it's okay. I'll drink this whole damn thing. Everybody who watches my Instagram knows I just dropped a couple of videos that I do not recommend trying at home. Do not dab honey. Do not dab peanut butter. Do not dab a lemon. Do not dab a kiwi.
Or anything except for maybe dab.
A cherry. Don't dab a cherry. Don't dab coffee. Yeah. So
he's like, and the list goes on and on. Just mainly stick to the good
out of
stuff.
Hand, but I'll always go back to oil.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna ask you is with coming out of your comfort zone and coming on the show like today and doing this. I know you did the Hot for Cannabis, and I was gonna ask you about that in a minute. But doing all that stuff, what is it? What's it like on camera? I know you've had to go back and watch it, you know?
Oh, and I'm also the editor, so it's excruciating. I mean, John would know how this works because he's a video guy. Yeah, it
does it make it harder or easier while you're filming it? You know, because like in your head, you know what you want to do.
I think I'm like you with the bong water. I think I want to vomit at first when I'm watching it. Like I'm just like, oh God, why did I do that? Why? And then I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, actually, but you actually got out in the world and you're not like an agoraphobic and like stuck in your house like fucking weirdo, you know?
So every time you do it, it's kind of like a personal little accomplishment.
Yeah, and I've noticed like from the time I started this in February, we're doing it for the whole year until January is when we stop filming, and that's when I start editing. And is all year long I'm doing, like we were talking about, Hot for Cannabis and all these other different things to just push myself into a really weird thing. And I thought it would kind of make a cool documentary too, to see someone have to go through all those excruciating things, like, and then I'm gonna have like interviews with like experts who talk about like doing this shit, and then like also like it's a very cannabis centric documentary because I feel like it's healed my life and it's given me like a purpose type thing, like reason to live type thing. So like, I'm just like running with it basically. Yeah, and then at the end of the year we'll go back and we'll look at all the footage and we'll say, okay, now we'll turn this and all the interviews I get and all the cannabis footage that I get, and we'll turn it all into some kind of experimental documentary. I've always made short films, so this is actually my first attempt at making a full-length film. It's gonna be 56 or 51 minutes. There might be two versions of it.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm
That was
trying to
rough.
get it possibly on broadcast. That's
Are you gonna have
by the
like an
way.
alternate ending then?
Yeah, well, who knows? That's the coolest thing about the documentary is we still don't know how it ends. And so, like, when I started all this, basically how I describe this documentary is Madeline coming out to the world as a stoner. You know, I'm a pothead, basically. Hi world, I'm a pothead, and you know, and that is like, and then I tell you the story of everything that I did this year to get over my fact of being scared of being out in public and in front of people and having pictures taken or video or any other thing. Who gives a shit, right? Um, so that's what led me here to your show.
Would
Thanks,
you say
Wonderful.
that, like, have you seen, I'm sure you've seen Get High Me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you say that's, like, partially, like, maybe some inspiration in it? 'Cause,
Yeah, yeah, and
he kinda
Super
does.
High Me and
Or
a
that's
lot of
what
the
it is,
other
yeah, Super High
yeah.
Me.
And a lot of those type documentaries, but this one has more of like a
I heard Doug Benson's gonna be at that Lemonade
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This one's more of like, I guess, it's about weed, but it's more like, I guess, a spiritual journey. Like me going through all this shit. Like, I don't mean in any kind of religious sense or anything. I just mean like in like a stoner sense, like a mystic. I'm just going on this adventure for the whole year and seeing how it turns out in the end, and then hoping that in the end I feel better about, like, today coming to meeting you. The second he started rolling it, I'm like, okay, things are gonna be okay. And so I'm hoping other people who have social anxiety disorder or feel socially awkward or whatever, stoners, cool people like me, so that they can go out and do cool stuff. So that's the
awesome.
idea of the documentary, is to kind of like inspire people. It's one of those inspiring type things.
Well, I'm really thankful that, you know, you included our show and Danks on that journey.
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming in.
I think it's really great that I got to come here, because I don't know, I've been following you and the Budtenders for long enough. I'm like, okay, this is where we needed to have you guys in here. So thanks
It's always nice when those online personas get to, like, mesh in person, you know. You get
right.
that's the thing, is like you've got all these collective ideas, and when you meet people with those like-minded collective ideas, you mesh really well and it goes really well. And
Right.
I just want to thank you for coming on the show and bringing the oil, and I think we're going to cut it a little short today, guys, but I just want to say thank you to John Baker Media. As always, thank you to Danks Wonder Emporium. Thank you for this wonderful weed from Perma, and you guys stay spacey.
Yeah, stay spacey on the morning.